Yeah, me too. What? Okay, our electronics are back. We're back on track. If everyone could have a seat, please. Okay, all the trustees are back. And our next, just a reminder, try to keep it to under 3 minutes if you can. We've probably got another 20 to go, something like that. So first up is Erica, followed by Anash. Okay. Erica, you're recognized.
Hi, thank you so much. So my name is Erica Fedor, and I'm a second-year graduate student in musicology. You've already heard from a lot of musicologists today. I completed my undergraduate work at Wake Forest University, a top 30 university in the United States that is incidentally run by an academic. Funny the way that that works. I wanted to come before you today to say that I am disturbed. I am disturbed to see Senator John Thrasher advance this far in the presidential search, though he lacks necessary academic credentials. I am disturbed by the fact that Senator Thrasher, rather than taking the opportunity to promote discussion and meaningful exchange, forcefully shut down the students that disagreed with him about his views on evolution and climate change, claiming that he was being heckled. And I am disturbed by the fact that Senator Thrasher and not Dr. Garnet Stokes has made it to this final round. I appear before you all in defense of academic freedom, in support of selecting a qualified university president, and motivated by my love of this university. I am hoping that today you will choose a university president that supports the exchange of ideas. Choose an academic. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Pronounce your name for me.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Avinash Ramanathan.
Welcome.
I'm a junior student. Student here, political science and sociology, and I'm here to speak to oppose the presidency of John Thrasher. Today, we are about to vote for one of the most corrupt and nefarious representatives here at Florida. John Thrasher has been indicted for 2 state ethics violations where he illegally lobbied on behalf of associations that he was not supposed to as a politician. He has taken money from one of the richest Koch brothers. Over $1.5 million has been given to this university, and the connections that the Koch brothers have here at Florida State University is very clear. We have Chairman Alan Bentz over here, who was on the board of directors of the James Madison Institute, also funded by the Koch brothers. He has taken money from private prison corporations who have committed human rights violations and have committed the very sexual assaults to their prisoners that John Thrasher today says he suddenly cares about. John Thrasher has been somebody who has opposed students and their interests over and over again. How can we say that he will be somebody that can help Florida State and get us money when it is his fault that we have lost millions of dollars over the years, when he has been the right-hand man for Governor Rick Scott and the Florida Republican Party? Mr. Gates, who graced us with his presence today, forgot to mention that he's actually a good friend of John Thrasher. He's in the Republican Party, and he has supported horrible laws like Stand Your Ground Law, which not only killed young Trayvon Martin, but continues to kill young black and brown men and women around the state of Florida every day. So a John Thrasher presidency has been unequivocally opposed by the faculty, by the students, and by community representatives of Tallahassee. Just know that today, if you elect John Thrasher as president, we will not be silent, we will continue to fight, and we will make John Thrasher's life here at Florida State University as a president a living hell. Thank you.
All right. Kimberly Tate Anderson, followed by Nick McLean.
I'm Kimberly Tate Anderson. I'm a third-year PhD in the English department. I'm also a graduate assistant. I teach 2 courses per semester. Today you will make a decision that will affect the future of the university. You have been charged with appointing the very best candidate for the presidency. Who will you choose? FSU is a good institution, but we have a lot of room for improvement. We are undergoing a Title IX investigation. Our quarterback, unfortunately, is making immature choices, and the presidential search process has been slammed in the media for being nothing but a farce, a concoction of the appearance of a legitimate process. Today, all eyes are on you. You have the responsibility to weigh the benefits of each candidate and to compare them. And that might mean, in fact, that must mean that you choose someone external, someone with whom you don't have an already established friendship or political or business ties. FSU needs someone who understands the unique needs of teaching and administration in a university setting, someone with a proven track record of fundraising, someone who can raise the reputation of the university, and someone who can raise community morale and heal the deep divisions this process has caused. Dr. Michelle Wheatley fits this bill better than anybody else. There are too few women in STEM field, but Dr. Wheatley stands out as a prominent figure. I mean, her alone being a woman in STEM, choosing her alone would be enough. Would be fantastic press. Yet she values the humanities too, understanding that only by recognizing the best parts of what makes us human can we shape our technologies to enhance humanity. She understands that a campus, above all, needs to be a place where people feel safe, where people will collaborate on ways to decrease rape, and where people feel validated reporting sexual assault. Of those who completed the PSAC survey about Dr. Wheatley, 91% said she was either very good or exceeded expectations. The other candidate up for discussion is markedly different from Dr. Wheatley, and not just in the fact that he has no scholarly credentials. Senator Thrasher has miraculously made it through every part of this process. Although Dr. Todd Adams yesterday noted that the campus had spoken and that the PSAC should absolutely not ignore the voices of those who will be most affected by this decision, the PSAC passed the buck on to you. So now you have this decision. John Thrasher may be your friend, but you need to tell him no. He has very little of knowledge of what STEM is. His non-answer on the question of Title IX suggests he has zero know-how on how to pull FSU out of our Title IX investigation with any dignity. And his position as chair to re-elect Rick Scott, a man who has decreased state funding to public universities, is more than unpalatable. In fact, it's somewhat embarrassing. Some have argued that Senator Thrasher's legislative experience will create an atmosphere in which he can lobby for funding for FSU, but he legally cannot do that for 2 years. Using Thrasher's legislative experience as a reason to promote him also rests on the assumption that Governor Scott will be reelected, and we won't know the results of the gubernatorial race until November. The consistent decisions to move Thrasher forward have landed FSU in an embarrassing position in the media, and the results of his post-forum survey were dismal. Only 11% of those surveyed thought he was very good or exceeded expectations. 87% thought he was unfit for the position. So now we look to you. Your decision will have repercussions that last for years. And if you choose a notably poor candidate, despite the incredible divisions and embarrassment he's caused, then you will be blamed. You will be blamed. You should be prepared for members of the media to dig into your past and unearth any conflicts of interest, corruption, or malfeasance related to this presidential selection. You should prepare for any inquiries and their findings to appear in national news outlets. You should prepare to be personally named and embarrassed. You should be prepared to be publicly shamed. But if you choose a candidate who's worthy and you still have the chance to do that, you will be thanked. You will be applauded, not just by Dr. Buckler, he's the first in line, but I guess I'll be second. So do yourselves and the university a favor. Allow John Thrasher to remain where he is, doing more good for the university as a state senator, and choose Michelle Wheatley as our next president. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. Next is Nick McLean, followed by Regina Joseph.
Hello, my name is Nick McLean. I'm a sophomore here at Florida State. I would first like to start off by thanking all of you for giving all of us the opportunity to speak here today. I know you're really busy and it's kind of been a long day. But so since I've only been here a year, I've grown immensely and seen the university grow as well. And it means nothing more to me than to see it continue on that path. And that, as previously noted, FSU has had a history of great academic presidents, but I believe that there is strength and diversity, and that John Thrasher has the willpower and resources to help us break that top 25 barrier. And that is all I'd like to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nick. Next is Regina Joseph, followed by John Emanuelo.
Hi.
Regina, welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. I am actually sad to be here because I'm very much disgusted with the Board of Trustees. I'm very much disgusted by the people who are here to pay lip service to John Thrasher. I get it. Y'all just want to get your, career ladder thing going on. That's really awesome. But I also want to let you know that you are selling your soul. Your soul is literally for sale. The Board of Trustees does not care at all about the fact that we are here. They do not care about us at all because of the fact that they have money to rich millionaires and billionaires, okay? They do not care about our voices. But I'm here to speak the truth. I'm here to speak the truth because apparently John Thrasher cares about sexual assault, right? That's what we've been told when people came up here and lied and said he cares about sexual assault. If that's true, why does John Thrasher receive money from private prison corporations such as Youth Services International? I'm actually going to read to you what John Thrasher supports and what you support. So again, thank you for selling your soul. See, this isn't happening in a black site or in Iraq. According to a federal class action suit filed Friday in Fort Lauderdale, it is happening and may still be happening in one of Florida's 25 juvenile detention centers run under authority of the Department of Juvenile Justice. It was happening to children, one of whom, the suit alleges, was raped by a prison officer who continued supervising children after the victim alleged the first rape. The staffer allegedly raped the 15-year-old boy again. The boy, who subsequently tried to commit suicide 3 times by drinking bleach, was released to his mother a week before the suit was filed. So this is what you stand for. This is what John Thrasher is, a racist. This is the history of this school. It wasn't until 40 years ago, more than that actually, that I was even allowed to walk on this campus. So thank you so much for trying to choose a racist for our president.
Folks, don't clap, please. Next is John Emanuelo, followed by Dr. Sandy Dallenbert. Welcome, John.
Thank you, and I want to thank everyone for coming out here today, including those behind me, those who speak in support of John Thrasher, those who speak against John Thrasher. I think this is a great experience for our campus to see this kind of debate. I think it's wonderful, and I think that if anyone here is disgusted by what people here are saying, well, maybe if the Presidential Search Advisory Committee had spent a little bit more time listening to the student and faculty voices here, maybe these people wouldn't be here in such strong force. But enough about that. I'm actually here to speak in support of Michelle Wheatley as FSU's next president. I didn't have a chance to attend her interview, but I did get a chance to talk to a number of individuals who were inspired not only by her distinguished academic career in STEM, and I will reiterate that she is a woman in STEM, so a field that really doesn't produce all that many women. And they were inspired. People were inspired by Michelle Wheatley. And I think she has the ability to unite FSU. I think that there are candidates who if you make if you choose that candidate today, I think that there's a very good chance that that candidate will not be able to unite FSU. But I think you will find a unifier in Michelle Wheatley. You'll also find someone who can inspire more women to come into STEM. The fact that she's made it so far in her career is nothing short of amazing. And if she can do it, she can inspire other young women, not even women that aren't even here at FSU today, women that may be in middle school and high school, or even elementary school. She's the kind of person who can inspire them to pursue a career in STEM. And I think that's a great thing. And I think that's the example FSU should be setting. So I urge the Board of Trustees to please make Michelle Wheatley the next president of FSU.
Thank you, John. Next is Ned Stuckey French. Oh, strike that, Dr. Dallenberg. I got him wrong. Or, I guess, President Dallenberg.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm delighted to be here. Let me say, first of all, like so many people have said, I care about this place. My mother went to Florida State College for Women. My grandfather went to seminary west of Sewanee. I've known this place for a long time and learned to care about it a great deal. But so many people who take this microphone can say that with just as much enthusiasm and sincerity as I can say it. But I'm here to talk about John Thrasher, and I want to make sure that people understand that John Thrasher and I have very different views. Mr. Chairman, I'm a liberal. I can be called a liberal Democrat, but Democrats are not nearly liberal enough for me.
I know.
And so you might think that it's a strange split thing for me to be standing for John Thrasher, who's being accused of terrible things. Some of these things are just simply not correct. And I've got to say that I've known John Thrasher, and you need to know that he's been my friend. I've known him since 1975. I showed up in Tallahassee to represent the Florida House of Representatives in an impeachment inquiry of Supreme Court justices. And not many people here remember those terrible times, but we had 3 members of our Florida Supreme Court who had been guilty of such misconduct that they were subject to impeachment. And so when I showed up to take over that job, the previous person had been ill, was very ill. I took the job. I intended to bring staff up from Miami, where I was practicing law. And when I arrived, the person who met me at the airport was John Thrasher, 1975. We had an experience working on impeachment. I was scared to death. I was a lawyer, and we're now going to conduct impeachment proceedings against Supreme Court justices. I mean, I sort of look forward to having a career. And this was threatening to me. The person who was absolutely steadfast during this time was John Thrasher. He'd just come back from Vietnam. He wasn't nearly as frightened as I was of what would happen to him because he had been through a different life experience. Now, John and I have been friends ever since then. I need to confess that. I wrote the letter nominating him before I knew who else would apply. It was my hope, for the benefit of the university, we'd get some very good applications, and I think we have. But I remain in my support for John Thrasher because I've watched him in action. Most recently, as Chairman Benz knows, I've had occasion to lobby the legislature. I have appeared for clients who I believed in. Chairman Benz and I had a wonderful exchange over compensation for a person who had been exonerated after being wrongfully convicted. John Thrasher helped Wilton Dedge through that process. And the following case, Bill Dillon, was a case in which Speaker Weatherford came forward and really provided great support. But get him admitted. John Thrasher, again, handled that legislation and pushed it through. I know that he cares about students. I know that he comes from a collegial environment, and he'll be a good president.
Thank you, President. Next is Ned Stuckey French. Ned, welcome.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you very much. I'm a liberal Democrat, too. Sometimes with a big D, sometimes with a little d, depending on the situation. And appreciate what President Deliberation just said. To speak to one more Democratic credential that I have, I did help his wife get directions up to Plains, Georgia, and told her what time you had to be there to hear Jimmy Carter teach Sunday school. I am also a professor of English here at, associate professor of English here at FSU, and have taught her since 1999. My wife also teaches in the English department. She's a professor of English there. I attended most of the Presidential Search Advisory Committee meetings, and I attended all of the meetings with the candidates, the four finalists this last week. And so I want to speak to that a little bit, my experience was in those meetings. The reason that the main argument I heard in the Presidential Search Advisory Committee for sending Senator Thrasher forward as one of the four finalists, and then as one of the four that had hope hear the kinds of answers that I felt could leave me open to all four candidates. I went into it certainly biased against Senator Thrasher, but I was trying to listen. I did not feel like I heard that from him. I felt like I heard avoidance on several questions when he was asked about climate change, when he was asked about evolution. He was asked about evolution, not natural selection. When I asked him about the rising cost of tuition and how state funding has dropped over the last, since the 1970s, he didn't answer my question and said that he questioned the premise of it, but I was quoting some facts. I was also, I have to say, concerned about his reaction to the students. I was sitting about probably 20 feet from Senator Thrasher and maybe 25, 30 feet from the students who were supposedly heckling him, and I didn't hear anything. There may have been eye rolling, there may have been, snorts, I don't know. But I was troubled by that. I mean, honestly, I was troubled by that, and because the president of FSU is going to need to deal with a lot of different kinds of people in a lot of different kinds of situations, and some of them are not always going to be friendly, and they're going to be across the country in all sorts of different situations, and it troubled me that would be what he would do in that situation. On the other hand, Dr. Marquez, when he was asked about a scandal, all of the candidates were asked about scandals by Nancy Rogers. He was asked about a scandal in which he'd been called a baby killer and everything, and there was no defensiveness. He talked about it in much detail. I thought all three candidates, again, and to my feeling, Michelle Wheatley just had a personality and an expertise and an ability to think on her feet that was really winning, but I thought that Mike Martin gave the best answer to my question that I heard. I thought that Dr. Marquez was the most prepared. I'll trot out one final credential that I have, because I heard it talked about yesterday in the meeting, and I actually played Division I college football for 1 year and 2 days. Decided that there were other things I wanted to do than staying up late and listening and watching films of the Holy Cross Receivers. This next president is not going to be able to play every game in Doak Campbell Stadium. This next president is not going to have home court advantage all the time. This president is going to have to be able to talk to Silicon Valley venture capitalists, to the National Science Foundation, to the National Institutes of Health, to people in think tanks on Route 128 in Boston. And I just felt that the three academics are the ones that can do that. I hope that you keep an open mind and make the choice that I think needs to be made. Thank you.
Thank you, Ned. Next is Tristan Hicks, followed by Douglas Mannheimer.
My name is Tristan Hicks. I'm a student here at Florida State University. I'm a member of the Honors College, so the most important thing to me about Florida State University, and if I could change one thing about this great place, I wish we were more highly touted in regards to academia. And with that being said, the top 25 list looks something like U.S. Military Academy, followed by the Naval Academy, and then the Air Force Academy. Politics played a huge role in getting them there. I think that downplaying the importance of resources shouldn't be taken lightly. California won out the top 25 list. They have higher tax rates than almost any other state. They have the best funding and they have the best schools. And as a member of the Honors College, I would like to be able to say that I attend one of the best schools in the nation in regards to academia. Thank you.
Thank you, Tristan. Next is Douglas Mannheimer, followed by Jeff Shanton. I'm sorry, Jeff Shanton. Doug,
Thank you,
welcome.
Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for your service. My family has earned 19 academic degrees from Florida State University between 1938 and 2012 and served on faculty and staff for more than 45 years. I care deeply about the academic standing of our university. At this time, I think it's critical that we have a president who can enhance faculty salaries to make us competitive with other universities in our nation, increase public funding for basic research, increase public funding for higher education in general in Florida to make us look a little bit more like, if not California, North Carolina at least, to increase scholarship funds for a diverse student body, and to increase our vital endowment. I've known John Thrasher for 25 years. My first interaction with him was when we worked together to see that Medicaid would provide proper funding for the most frail and poorest Floridians, and we were successful in that venture. Maybe you haven't heard something like that lately. I believe he's uniquely qualified to do exactly as this gentleman back here said. If I were going to any of those three bodies to advocate for Florida State, I think John Thrasher is the best Floridian to do that for us right now with the greatest chance of success to bring us back the funding and the excellence we need to move into the top 25 or beyond. I don't agree with him on every political issue. I embrace diversity, as we all should. I think I probably sometimes agree politically with President Dallenbert, who nominated him on many issues. I agree with John on some issues. Let's don't be afraid of diversity. I urge you to choose John Thrasher as our next president. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Next, Jeff, followed by Andy Opal. Jeff, welcome.
Thank you. I'm a faculty member here in the sciences, and I'm just really worried about this because it seems to me that if John Thrasher really cared about this university, he would withdraw from consideration. I'm getting the impression that he's a very divisive figure, and I'm afraid that if you choose him, what that's going to say about your commitment to faculty governance. I'm a faculty member here, and we really don't want him. You know, we really don't. So if you appoint him, why did you even ask our opinion? It would have been better to just go ahead and do it back in June. And I'm worried about the message that you're going to send if you appoint him, because appointing him would be incredibly dismissive of the faculty. You know, I work really hard for this place, and if you point out, I'm just going to feel like you don't care about what I think. And I think a lot of other people are going to feel that way too. So please, 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 please pick an academic. And my personal favorite of the ones that are remaining is Richard Marquez. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Next is Andy Opel, followed by Robin Goodman. Andy, welcome.
Hi, thank you. My name is Andy Opel. I'm a professor in the School of Communication. And when I asked Michael Martin his thoughts about climate change, he erupted and said, of course I believe in climate change. I've been fighting climate change issues for 30 years. And he said the role of universities are to be places of leadership around issues like climate change, where innovation, new ideas, new technology to help get us out of this problem are spearheaded and then transitioned out to the broader society. I was really encouraged by Dr. Martin's comments, and they were really in stark contrast to John Thrasher. Because when I asked John Thrasher about his 2012 vote to repeal the Florida Climate Protection Act, he said you couldn't say that was connected to climate change. Well, the Florida Climate Protection Act was going to set standards for renewable energy for the state of Florida. We're one of 13 states that doesn't have a renewable energy portfolio standard. We have some of the worst air in the country, 47th most toxic air in the country. And so John Thrasher, through his policies, has actively increased asthma rates, actively given sickness to children all around the state of Florida because of increased particulates in our air, instead of passing legislation. He's been in a decision-making power for 20 years, and yet hasn't bothered to take the time to even familiarize himself with the fundamental science of the day around climate change, yet continues to vote on issues dealing with energy and climate policy. Like this kind of lack of intellectual curiosity, coupled with ideologically driven decision-making, is a terrible hallmark for and stands in stark contrast to what the university stands for, where we're data-driven, we're science-based, and we're part of the reality-based community, right? Decisions in the university are not ideologically driven. Decisions in the university are based on sound evidence. And so we need a leader who will base Florida's future on evidence, not on ideology. Thank you. Thank you, Andy. Next is Robin Goodman, followed by Neil Abel.
Hi, I'm Robin Goodman. I'm a professor of English. I actually had something a little bit more egregious, but I thought you all needed a break. Some of you may have heard this before, but I think it's still important. I'm going to throw my support behind Michelle Wheatley. There are several reasons for this choice, but today I want to address two of them. The first is that, well, if you've seen any newspaper lately or listened to any media outlet, you're aware that FSU has a problem with sexual violence. In fact, if I had a daughter, I would not feel safe sending her to study at this university. This is not only because we've got a few out-of-control undergraduates, a mark of any large university. Also, it looks from the outside like the old boy power structure cares more about winning football games than about keeping students safe, and that anybody who would question that is out of line. In other words, FSU's public image is severely damaged, and hiring a woman would be one step towards repairing that damage. If the only reason to support Dr. Wheatley is to support her as a woman, I would have kept silent. My second reason is that Dr. Wheatley gave the only credible answer to the question of the humanities. Martin and Marquez were willing to throw some extra money to the humanities if the sciences produced extra. Only Wheatley understood that the question, what is the human, is necessary before deciding in what direction scientific inquiry should head. FSU has strong humanities traditions that it would be tragic to discard. Additionally, as studies at the University of California have shown, in public universities where public funding streams are tied to a formula based on the number of students taught, the humanities funds the sciences, not the other way around. Of all the candidates, only with Dr. Wheatley would I feel confident that the humanities and the arts would continue to thrive at FSU. With all due respect, I'm not convinced that this position should be decided on the anecdotes about Senator Thrasher's friendly character. Even while I agree with my colleagues, my students, and most of the news coverage when I say anything but Thrasher, Wheatley seems to me to be heads and tails above the rest.
Thank you, Robin. Next is Neil Abell, followed by Kerr Ballinger. Neil,
Good
welcome.
afternoon. I'm Neil Abel. I'm a professor and the director of international programs in the College of Social Work, and I appreciate your efforts. I'm not here to chastise you or to threaten you, but to express an opinion. As a fourth-generation Florida native, the first member of my family to go to college, someone who earned 3 degrees at Florida State, and who has spent roughly 80% of my academic career here, I care deeply about this place. For me, it's been the land of opportunity, and it matters that we do the right thing at this critical juncture. I'm urging you to give us a president with the credentials, the experience, and authority to lead us to our fullest potential. The qualifications that we seek require more than good character. I've written to each of you independently on multiple occasions because I am deeply concerned that this body use all available evidence in the decision that you're about to make. And my notes have been shredded as the afternoon has gone on, so bear with me. I believe that while Senator Thrasher is obviously a very big fish in Florida, and that we have benefited in significant ways from his contributions, making him president fails to recognize that we aim to swim in national, not local waters. Only one of the top 25 public universities in the United States is in Florida. During the tenure of T.K. Wetherill, I watched in despair as faculty morale plummeted, salaries stagnated, and FSU endured a mass exodus of some of our most talented and productive faculty. Reversing those trends was difficult, and there's truly no substitute for strong, credible leadership. And with all the discussion about access to power in the legislature, call me a skeptic, but I've been around a long time, and I lived to see the day when the legislature and the governor of the state of Florida truly take the funding of higher education seriously. I hope that I live for that moment. As someone who shares your deep commitment to FSU, I urge you now to give us a president who understands the academic enterprise in its entirety and who has demonstrated credentials and track record to permit us to recruit and retain the best and the brightest faculty, students, and administrators. They're the drivers, they're the labor, they are the day-to-day face and character of this institution, and we can't get the best unless we have the best. For my money, that person is Michelle Wheatley. I, like others, have found her to be bold, honest, poised, and authentic. She has broad experience, excellent credentials, knows a great deal about the context of higher education, both in Florida and nationwide, and presents as a quick study, you met her, with an admirable balance of confidence and humility. She shows well. With her in charge, I am sure we could go far. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Next is Kerr Ballinger, followed by Marshall Jones.
Thank you. My name is Kerr Ballinger, and I'm a fifth-year graduate assistant in the Department of Mathematics, president of United Faculty of Florida, Florida State University Graduate Assistants United, where I represent approximately 3,300 GAs. And I'm also the United Faculty of Florida Graduate Assistants United Bargaining Council Vice President, where I represent GAs at UF, FAMU, USF, and FSU. I've been present at virtually every PSAC meeting, and I thought I would take a couple minutes just to reflect on the interesting time that we've had this far. We've gone from forming a presidential search advisory committee with no graduate assistant representation and little student and faculty representation when you take into consideration the outside stakeholder, political, and corporate supermajority. GAU, along with the Congress of Graduate Students, FSU Student Senate, and many student groups have spoken out against the makeup of PSAC and have called for a restructure, or at the very least, the addition of 1 or 2 graduate assistant seats. But our calls have gone unanswered. We have seen the supermajority vote for an accelerated vetting process for Senator Thrasher, something that students, faculty, and the Board of Governors representative all voted against. Even with the public outcry from students and faculty, the PSAC continued on its disastrous course until William Funk resigned. Things seemed to turn around once the on-campus interviews started. It was very refreshing to see strong academic candidates like Michelle Wheatley, Richard Marquez, and Michael Martin eager to take the helm here at FSU. It was less refreshing to hear certain comments from PSAC members blatantly supporting one candidate a priori. Maybe this was because for the most of the meetings that I attended, that many PSAC members were phoning in and not present at the meetings. That's the only excuse I can think of for someone to state, for example, that only music and English folks were opposed to a John Thrasher presidency. Hopefully you've seen that that is not the case here today. But clearly the deck was stacked at the onset of this process, and this brings us to yesterday's meeting. I have to say that I was cautiously optimistic that after hearing from Mr. Pimentel that 87% of the 696 people that took Senator Thrasher's survey ranked him as below average or not qualified. And then PSAC would finally make the right move to forward the 3 academic candidates. However, those representing corporate and political interests weaseled out once again and have now left it up to you all to decide today. And I would like to direct this comment to Mr. Burr. You've mentioned how valuable public comment is to this process. Well, you've heard public comments, and you've had a chance to look over the survey. The people have spoken, and the results are irrefutable. FSU does not want John Thrasher. John Thrasher was correct about one thing. He does have the power to bring people together. These people are standing right behind me. And my final remark is this. This is your chance to make the right decision. Choose a candidate like Michelle Wheatley that has strong academic credentials. I would like to point out that the GAU members were surveyed, and 77% of them picked Wheatley as their top choice for FSU president. 13% went to Marquez, and the other 10% went to Martin. Quit ignoring the student, graduate assistant, staff, faculty, alumni, donor, community, labor union, and national voices. So it's been a long 7 months, throughout which I've lost a great deal of hope for the future of this university. I actually told Dr. Wheatley at the staff forum last week that if she's done nothing else, she's given me that hope back. Don't take that away from me again. Choose a strong academic to get us back on track. Choose Michelle Wheatley. Thank you.
Thanks, Kerr. Next is Marshall Jones, followed by Daniel King.
Hi, I'm Marshall Jones. I'm a graduate assistant in the College of Music. And, there have been a lot of things said here today. I'm not going to attack any board members. I'm not going to do any bashing of any particular candidate. There are a couple of things I want to talk about today and hope that you will reflect on these as members of the Board of Trustees. The first is love. There's been a lot said about love, and love is one of the things that makes us human, as many people have pointed out that Dr. Wheatley understands. When you think about love, think about a person that you love. In that relationship, you have had to listen to that person because what you think might be best may not always. And sometimes you have to listen to the other person in a relationship for it to continue. Please, FSU, the students, the faculty, the staff, because we are what makes FSU, FSU, have spoken. Please listen to us. Secondly, the position of a university president is not that of a CEO of a corporation, someone who hands policy down. The person who is a university president should be a leader, someone that inspires confidence in those that follow. Clearly, we have seen that there is support for Dr. Wheatley from the faculty, the students, the staff, those that make up FSU. I love FSU. I love the faculty, the staff, even the students that may not agree with me. I love FSU. and I know that you do too. So please show your love for FSU.
Thank you, Marshall. Last is Daniel King.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I'm Daniel King, and I'm a freshman here at Florida State University. I would like to first off thank both sides, the people who support Thrasher and everyone else that's against him, for coming out here and just voicing their opinion today. I'd like to start off by just talking about how I've tried to make my experience here the best possible, as best possible as I can, and that has been involved. I've been involved with trying to find clubs and such, and fraternities, which I've sort of researched and found a lot of sexual abuse and assault cases online, which really deeply saddens me. One thing that John Thrasher has commented on about that is that it's mainly due to alcohol consumption, which I find is pretty weird when fraternities and sororities are here supporting John Thrasher when they're the main ones consuming alcohol here on campus. Also, I just completely disagree with politics being involved with academics. Obviously, it's going to be something that's tied together because money is what supports academics, but it's not something that should drive academics as academics itself. As the board of trustees here, you're given the task to vote for the president of this university, which should be an academic, in my opinion. And if you guys don't choose an academic here, you're just choosing the wrong choice, and you're forcing the people on the outskirts here, the media, the ideologically for-profit media, to decide that you guys are choosing something morally wrong. And I'd like to close by saying that I'm disappointed with Florida State being plagued with scandal after scandal, such as sexual abuse cases and a quarterback that is forced to sit out for a full game because of something he said. And right now is the time for John Thrasher to sit out of the game.
Thank you, Daniel. That concludes the audience participation portion of the meeting. How about if we take about a 10-minute break and stretch our legs and meet back about 4:20?
I agree with that sentence.
Oh, man.
Big yawn.
I can't sit this much.
That's what I just told them. We know it's unhealthy and there's evidence. Now scientific evidence to support that.
They're giving water. I said, no, we want wine, not water. I told him this is gin.
I do want some more water.
Right.
Empty mine. Thank you.
Hey, Al.
Good to see you. Go ahead, get your water.
Good to see you, man. Doing all right? Yeah, doing okay. Okay, good. Glad you could come by.
Yeah.
He wouldn't miss this for the world.
Today is my birthday, so I went to a late lunch and stuff.
I'm 62. I'll be 63 next month. I think you've got my birthday.
I turned 66.
Ah. Aren't you eligible for Social Security?
Yeah. I get my first check next month.
Thank you so much for taking time. And we may not see the same. Is it 67 for healthcare?
Yeah.
You and I have paid into the system for a long time.
Okay.
I went to work when I was 13.
I was working when I was 20. Hey, Doc. Joe. What's happening?
I don't know, man. I could get us out of this. Y'all need to hire me as a consultant.
I need my staff calling in to stack it up cases and it's costing me $5,000. You the best. That's great. Thank you. I
I'm gonna dash over before I go drive to Tampa, just so I can see you. Yes. You know what? If it's not, you're not doing your job. You don't have enough time in the day right now for that, buddy. November. One way or the
I do think it's science. It's a fact.
You've been all right?
I've been okay. It's so good to see you. It's good to be here. I've got my birthday today.
Okay. Good man. Happy birthday. Pretty nice. No way. It's fantastic. That's right. Hot dog, finally, right after all those things are taken in. We'll see how much you come out with.
Not much.
Not much, I'm afraid. No. Oh my gosh.
Okay, let's take a seat. Actually, we got a couple minutes here. I think the only person we're lacking is Peggy. Keep those open. That's not okay. We'll pick up on the presidential search. And I thought we'd open with an update by Chairman Burr on the search committee. Chairman Burr, you're recognized.
First, Chairman Benz, I appreciate the term chairman, but I'm no longer chairman. That committee was disbanded yesterday, so I appreciate that.
Former chairman, then.
Former chairman would be fine. Thank you, Chairman. A little update. I really want to take us back to when we started the process. So I think it was in March, and Dr. Barron announced he was leaving. And we had a lot of hope and a lot of a bright future in front of us, and a lot of great things happening at FSU that we were encouraged about. And we embarked on this process, and the Board of Trustees charged a search committee to sort of help fulfill the promise that had been put in front of FSU under previous administrations and Dr. Barron's administration. I think our chairman talked about us being, in the red zone or about to punch it over the goal line as an analogy that we could use of where FSU was and a university on the rise. And we've been in this process for a while, and there's been a lot of controversies, and I guess that's what makes a university environment so unique and so special, is that you have really a place where diverse opinions can be expressed and diverse opinions be shared, and it really is part of the university culture and environment. I have learned to appreciate it. I have been had many opportunities, many hours of opportunity to hear public comment as we've heard today, and it's been helpful in making the decisions that we've made. The committee has, as charged and as promised, had a very thorough, public, transparent process. In spite of some charges, I don't know how many hours, probably 50 hours of public meetings that we've had, tens of hours of public comment that have been involved in that process. Every decision has been made in the sunshine. Every discussion we've had has been in the open forum. And there's been, at times, unanimity among the committee, and at times there's been dissension among the committee. But I think as we went through the process, we've come together and really have, I think, discharged the duties that we were given us with a high level of quality, as I said yesterday. The committee put forth 4 candidates for consideration by this Board of Trustees. And one of the candidates, the only non-traditional candidate, John Thrasher, gets a lot of attention. And a little bit of attention has been given to the 3 more traditional candidates and academic candidates. As you all remember, we were charged with a set of qualifications by this board, which included consideration of non-academic candidates, people who had shown leadership in government and in business and in private enterprise would be considered by this Board of Trustees. I think the committee has embraced that as they've gone through this process and thought it was important that we had not only the opportunity to talk to 3 great academic candidates, and I think each of those have great qualities. I don't think there's a single candidate in front of us today that doesn't have a lot of great qualities, nor is there a single candidate in front of us that doesn't have challenges and doesn't have things they'll have to learn as being the president of Florida State University. Each of them have great opportunities and a set of challenges in adapting and becoming the president of Florida State University. But I don't think there's a bad choice involved in those processes. We have great STEM academic folks in front of us who would be challenged to learn and have a learning curve in understanding our governance system in the state of Florida, our funding system in the state of Florida. We have John Thrasher, who certainly understands funding and state politics and fundraising, and would have to surround himself with the right folks in an academic setting. But I think the important thing, and so the committee has protected, I think, everyone's right to hear from a non-academic candidate, John Thrasher, as well as academic candidates. They protected those who we entered it with an open mind, and we've followed through with an open mind to hear all the candidates, and we protected the right of the search committee to hear from John Thrasher, the non-academic candidate. We protected the right of the campus community to get that, to hear from John Thrasher. And then yesterday, I think the committee rallied and decided that this board deserved to hear from the 3 academic candidates and a non-traditional academic candidate, John Thrasher. There's great qualities in each of them. I am, as I said yesterday, and I'll say again in front of you all, I am absolutely convinced that this, and have full faith and trust that this Board of Trustees will discharge their duties with the equal level of quality. I think the search committee has done their duty in their process. We don't have an easy decision in front of us. One of the great, and I guess that's proof that we've done a great job at the Peace Act by having a challenged set of process, a great set of candidates in very trying conditions. I think we prevailed through that process and have forwarded 4 candidates for your consideration. And again, they all have great qualities. They all can lead this institution. And what I want to definitely say is that as a result of this process, that hope that we had in March, that, you know, inside the red zone about to score, school on the rise, it's still here at Florida State University. The diversity of opinion we hear in this room makes it feel it's not here, but it's here. And there are great things on the doorstep of Florida State University, and whoever we select of these candidates, I am convinced will open the door and help us realize the greatness that lies in front of Florida State University. So that's sort of the spirit behind where we are and how we got to where we are, Chairman. I'll answer any questions anyone has about the process. You've heard different things, and be glad to do that, Chairman, if anyone has any questions.
Members, any questions? No. Any questions, members? Okay, I think Dr. Tyson, I think you wanted to have a few comments at the you can wait and do them later, whatever. I thought we might go around the table and visit a little bit and chat.
I'm fine to do that. I've been waiting to speak for quite a while because I think this committee's done a very good job once we delegated the task to the search committee of staying out of it. And I've done that as well, and that's about as hard as you can do to get a faculty member to not speak for an extended period of time on something they really care about. I do have a few comments. My students would be terrified because I actually have 3 pages, and they know I can talk for an hour on a Post-it note, but I intend to finish fairly quickly. The first comment I'd like to make is actually on the public forums that we've had. I have mixed feelings about them. They're certainly a valuable thing, and I think this conversation is good. And speaking as a professor, if I look at the quality of the speech I've seen today versus when we first started, I think the students deserve a better grade, and I guess the faculty deserve a better grade, but they wouldn't let me grade them. However, I would caution that I think there's a coarseness in dialogue that crops up in this, and a desire to infer motivation when discussing somebody else that I think is very poisonous in an environment, particularly in an academic environment. So kind of mixed feelings about it. I do want to start by defending the members of the search committee who volunteered their time and who may have come from very different perspectives and had very different views of what governance should be at a university. But they all came in with honest opinions about how to do that. I also want to support the trustees who've also been kind of embattled at times. I think sitting on this committee, you get to see what the trustees do on a day-to-day basis that's not seen. We would not have preeminence passed if it wasn't for members of this committee working behind the scenes. And that's only one of many things that occur. So when I hear an attack on somebody who I know is working hard for the university, it's very frustrating for me. So I do not want to suppress anyone's speech, and I know these opinions are heartfelt, but just be cautious about making inferences about other people. Just because they disagree with you does not mean that they do it out of bad faith. So that's all I want to say about that. People have asked me on a number of times a lot of questions that I've basically said I'm not going to give you an answer. I think one of the most common was, am I surprised or concerned about the conflict that's arisen in this process? I'm not at all surprised about it. I believe that any search that includes both traditional and non-traditional candidates is going to have some kind of conflict when searching for a university president. And I don't want to give a history lesson on this, but I do want to give a little perspective of why I think that's the case. This conflict is caused by the governance of a university. It's kind of unique. You wouldn't build a company on a process like this. We've seen the word academy used over and over. It's in the form of academic on a lot of these signs. And academy is actually a term that goes back 2,300 years. And it's a collection of scholars who seek the best instructional methods on how to train the next generation of scholars. And what's unusual about this form is that it's achieved strictly through consensus, that there is often not a hierarchy at all. It's a collection of people who debate on the best practices of education. As schools grew in size, a representative group of faculty was formed to build a curriculum and to discuss the business of the academy. This is the basis of the modern faculty senate. The important thing to know about the power of the academy is it's always derived from the bottom, not the top. I could not be appointed faculty senate president, since appointment has no place in the structure of the academy. So this is the viewpoint that the faculty have lived their entire career. The faculty is the source of power, and any authority above that, any title above that, actually derives its power strictly from the will of that faculty. But a university is much more than academy. We have an administration. The administration is structured in a very different manner. In the administration, the trustees appoint the president. The president appoints the provost and the vice presidents. The provost appoints the deans. The deans appoint the chair. The chair appoints nobody, but still has to manage to handle the tasks of that unit. The worst job at a university is a chair. So this system leads to a natural tension. You have a top-down model and a bottom-up model interfacing. And that's the shared governance that we deal with. Administrators occasionally annoy the faculty by doing an unpopular appointment. The faculty occasionally annoy administrators by electing some senator or Senate president that has an antagonistic relationship with some administrator. Over the years, we have built a system that reduces this tension. Getting faculty input on appointments of administrators is one primary. And it's one we did not do very well 6 years ago. It is one that got changed through the wishes of Eric Barron when he came in. And we had a much more inclusive role in the evaluation of candidates for administrative positions from chair on up. That's a good thing. Sometimes we appoint the person that wasn't the most popular. Many times we appoint the person that was the most popular. Sometimes we're wrong, and many times we're right. As I said, I would never build a business like this. So when people say a university is a business, it is not. And running a university is very complex because of that. You have to be a consensus builder because in essence, both the faculty governance structure and the administration structure have veto power over actually things running well. The beauty that we had when Eric came in was that he got groups that were not working well together to start to work at going in the same direction. And we saw a rise because of that. He appointed a number of vice presidents. Some we did not think would be good, and in many cases they were good. Eric was a very good judge of character. And we've heard candidates talk about the quality of the leadership team. That was the quality of Eric Barron in choosing the people to be that leadership team, and it's an excellent leadership team. I think whoever comes in as president would be well advised to keep as much of that as possible. Okay, so in March I made a statement that while all candidates need to learn some part of the job, which I've heard here today and throughout the process quite a bit, I said it is easier to teach an academic how to deal with the legislature than to teach a non-academic how to run a university. I think that statement needs to be elaborated. Some of it you got. The structure of governance is quite complex, but it's more than that. I think that many of my colleagues underestimate the complexity of the job of the president in dealing with the politics outside the university. I think that any person outside the university would have a hard time understanding the labyrinth of conflicting viewpoints that you find within the academy and within the university. I've already discussed the governance structure. Another challenge is managing faculty with very different views of what the university is. In the classic form, the academy seeks to teach students how to think. As Mike Martin put it in an answer to a question posed last week, it is vital that we teach our students the skills to learn the tasks in his or her second and third job and not just train, I lost my place, and not just train a set of skills for the first job. We also see that in the view of the QEP goal that we agreed to in critical thinking. We want to teach our students critical thinking skills. This is kind of classic academy. In contrast, there's a very different viewpoint created after World War II when the federal government started to put money into, a lot of money, into universities to create the great research universities. This is actually in the United States relatively new. And this gave us a set of faculty that had a different set of needs and a different viewpoint of the university. Our metrics on research expenditures and PhDs awarded reflect this requirement on a research faculty member. It is too simplistic to label this as a STEM versus humanities, but we certainly saw some of that interplay in discussions today. But my colleagues in the sciences tend to have a very different university experience than in disciplines that are not associated with big science or big research. So you already have this conflict in viewpoints of the faculty. More recently, we see a renewed focus on the idea of a university as an economic engine. There's a lot of discussion in that in Florida right now. We have seen in FSU the new initiatives on entrepreneurship and metrics that include initial salary and the impact on the economy. As you might expect, my colleagues in computer science love this view of the university. We train students who go out and get jobs that are well paid, that have an impact in the economy, and they don't tend to get a computer science degree and then go do something else. That's another very different viewpoint. So you put these faculty in together and you get a very complex mix of desires on the direction of the university. I'm pretty tough on the administrator sometimes, asking him where are the resources going, but it's an incredibly difficult job to allocate resources when you have three very different styles of universities. And it requires intimate knowledge of why that is in order to do a good job of that. Much of that, I think, can actually be delegated, but not all of it. Another aspect of this is differences in resource allocation. We've discussed this internally quite a bit. If you hire a new chemistry professor who needs a lab, that may mean $1 million startup. If you hire a new English professor, Eric will tell you, that may mean a new pencil. How do you allocate these resources when there's arguments that are totally valid from different perspectives on the best use of those funds? Again, this makes it a very challenging process to manage this. Proper functioning of the university is greatly impacted by a systematic imbalance in faculty salaries by rank. We've discussed this as well. We have put ourselves through a combination of external pressures and internal priorities into a situation where many departments that have highly productive senior faculty mentoring new assistant professors, doing that where their salaries are very nearly the same, and where it's known that the first promotion of an assistant professor will put them over the senior faculty who is their mentor. These are not senior faculties who are just kind of done with their career. These are the most productive that we have, and this needs to be addressed because it's poisonous to have an environment when their senior faculty are upset about how they're treated, yet still working with junior faculty. That's just, you could not run a company that way. Finally, I think the thing that's most challenging for this position is that the rate of change of a university is increasing. There's been a lot of change that occurred since I've been a faculty member. And my experience as a student 30 years ago and the experience now are relatively similar compared to what we see in the future. Technology is changing faster. The structures that are changing faster. The students and how they learn are changing faster. You need a leader to know how to navigate those changes. All right, I'll stop here. Kind of stop the professorial part of this. I don't intend to make a motion right now on a candidate because I want to hear from the other trustees. If it were entirely up to me, I would probably choose between Mike Martin and Michelle Wheatley. Thank you. They're two very different choices. One is kind of the 5-year president, and the other I see as the 20-year president. They're different stages of their career. Of them, I would probably choose Mike Martin because I think we need a leader who can step in quite quickly. We've talked about the fact that everybody needs to learn something, and to some extent that's true. But Mike Martin comes with every position around which he's going to have to deal with on the academic side. He's been the president twice. He's the chancellor once. My concern right now is that our university is being impacted by changes that are occurring in the Board of Governors. So I want somebody who is ready right now to deal with the Board of Governors and to interact with them well. And who better than somebody who's already a chancellor? We actually saw this in one of his answers. He talked about how to bring in a Nobel laureate by sharing them between two universities. I had never thought of this idea. This is an idea that the BOG would love because you're helping multiple universities in there. And I think this ability to have the experience across a broad range is extraordinarily helpful to the university at this time. All right, at this point, I'd like to stop what must feel like a filibuster and make one last statement. Contrary to, I think, a lot of the discussion out here, I personally am very happy to be one of 13 people making this decision. The academy is one part of the university. It is a public university. The committee, the Board of Trustees, represent the public aspect of the university, the external face of the university, and certainly supporters of the university. I'm very comfortable with the selection you make, whether it agrees with what I would do or not. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Tyson. Any more comments? Anyone want to talk? Or do you want to cover this?
I'll talk.
Okay. Trustee Pantene, I knew I could count on you.
Thank you. It's been close to 50 years since I was a student here, graduated, and been involved with the university since then. In that time, we have a special situation this time, that I cannot remember happening, at least in the time that I've been involved. All the presidents, except one, in the last close to 50 years, have retired, not left, and lived in Tallahassee. That is very unique. This is a different situation with a president actually left for another position. And this is my fourth time being selecting the president at FSU. Two, as a selection search committee. At that time, we sent our candidates to the Board of Regents. The first time I was involved, the process was great. Everything went smooth, everybody happy, singing Kumbaya. The guy got fired 2 years later. Okay? Next turn, the process was contentious, to say the least. And I was in the paper saying, last time the process was great, the results were bad. Then I said, when we selected Sandy, the process was awful, but the results, I hope, are great, and they were, when we had President D. Allen Byrd as our president. So, we have to be I have gone, heard, watched all the committee meetings of the search committee that were on TV, on stream, what have you. I watch them. I went to the last one yesterday. I came in person. I answered more than 100 emails when the emails made sense. And every email, and I kill a lot of trees, so I print all this stuff to make sure that I can find them in my desk. The last couple of hundreds of emails are being terrible. They have mixed up corruption with the Koch brothers. The Koch brothers haven't bought me a Diet Coke, okay? And a few of those emails that made sense in the last couple of days, I've had answered. Not today because I've been here. So, we've been listening, and we have a mission to do as whatever the rules of the Board of Trustees say. The only thing that we need to do is elect, hire, or fire a president. So I am listening to this, but I have seen with our race to be the top 25. We see here this card that we put out. FSU already is in the top 25 in graduation rates, in retention of freshmen, in the percentage of faculty that have terminal degrees, alumni giving, acceptance rate, etc. And we are awful, and that's what keeping us, and we went back a couple spots this year in the area of classes with fewer than 20 students, 54th, student to faculty ratio, 70th, and resources for president, 70th. And we, in funding, I think we're 200th. And we cannot be, Trustee Rolando and several of us, she chairs the efficiency committee. We cannot be better in efficiency than number one. I don't know how you are better than number one in efficiency. So I'm looking at the whole situation, and I'm going to vote accordingly with that.
Any more discussion?
I just have a comment.
Dr. Camps, you're recognized.
Thank you. I first came to FSU in 1973, so I've been involved intricately now for 42 years. My wife, my 3 children, all FSU grads. I happen to be a physician, deal with many of you in the community. And I also have a radio show. And 3 years ago, something became very apparent to me. Is that in our country today, and some aspects of this I was able to witness throughout this, is that we seem to have lost an element of civility. Some of the things that we were accused of, I have no knowledge of it. I don't pay attention to a lot of it because people that know me know who I am. This is a very tough decision. I came in today not sure of what I would do, but I thought we had 4 excellent candidates. Some performed better than I had anticipated. And so I'm still wrestling right now in my mind about who can best lead Florida State. I've had the opportunity to work with several presidents. Some were contentious, and I was reminding President D'Alembert that he came to my house once, and he said that all money at the university was university money, and I happened to be on the booster board, and we were laughing because it was a very contentious argument, but at the end of the day, we respected each other, and I reminded him that he was one of the finest presidents we've ever had. None of us can predict, based on our choice, what tomorrow will bring. But I think this board is committed to doing whatever it takes to make sure we advance education, that all students here get a great college experience. But most of all, I'm going to plead that Florida State and its family maintain civility. That's what we're all about. That is our democracy. Please be careful. I wish I had a camera to film everybody and then roll it forward 30 years and ask you to see who you are and what you've become. And I bet some of us will be changed. This is a very difficult decision. I'm going to wrestle with it, but I'm sure at the end of the day, I will be supportive, just like Dr. Tyson, of the movement forward, whoever's chosen.
Trustee Haggard, you're recognized.
Just very, very shortly. I've been involved with Florida State since 1960, which means I'm incredibly old. But I deeply, deeply love this university. I've served as chairman of different committees from the boosters to academics and throughout, and then it was chairman of the Board of Trustees a few years ago. I love this university. And you're right. You talk about you support someone and you think that you're right, but you can be wrong. I opposed Andy D'Alembert. Remember that? At first, I opposed him, and he ended up being a fabulous president. And I've apologized to Sandy 100 times for that. But I am forgetting the controversy, which is hard to forget because there's been such controversy concerning this process. But forgetting the controversy for a minute, forgetting all of y'all's thoughts about it was corrupt, it was bad, whatever y'all's thoughts are. Let's take us where we are today, right now, this minute, and what we're going to be doing in the next 15 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever. These 4 candidates that you all came up with are fabulous. I can't imagine getting 4 better finalists to put before us to pick the next president of Florida State University. And I'm like Joe, I don't know really what I'm going to do right this second, but I'll tell you what, whatever we do, it's going to be good because of the 4 candidates we have. They're exceptional, and I applaud the committee for coming up with them. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Any other comments?
Chairman, maybe at the risk of moving towards the candidates themselves, since I've probably spent more time with each of them, I may take a little moment to reflect on each of the candidates.
Sure,
See
you're recognized.
Their strengths and their weaknesses. There's no particular order of this. I'll go in reverse order of how we met today. Dr. Marquez, I've talked to many of these folks as the chair of the selection committee many times by phone and a couple times by person. Dr. Marquez, if you remember, when he interviewed with the advisory committee, was in Japan on a mission for UAB. And I think it was successful, by the way, and I think he's done a great job. He's impressive. His academic credentials and certainly his STEM credentials and his background is impressive. And his leadership skills at UAB in the area of research have been impressive. As I sat here today, I was wishing that he had a broader perspective for this university. I like him a lot. I just wish he had a broader perspective, maybe even had served as a provost at time and not just a VP of research. I was thrilled that we brought him, but it was the only place I saw him lacking. There was really a broader university perspective, especially one that's so involved in the arts and humanities that we have here. Great candidate and will be, I'm sure, a great president someplace at some point in time. I think Dr. Martin certainly has been there, done that. Dr. Martin he spent time at University of Florida. He's been in Florida. He has been a president of 2 different universities and now is the chancellor of the Colorado State University System, which is not the state of Colorado university system, it's the Colorado State University System. And really expresses his desire to get back on the campus environment. I think that's to our benefit. And that, I think he could be as I said earlier, a president that would lead us. And he talked about ways to elevate into the top 25 and AAU and his relationships in doing that. And, he and Michelle Wheatley both have the significant handicap is learning, as you said, Gary, and you may think it's easier, I don't know, learning the governance and the funding and the political system that we have in the state of Florida for universities. It is a complicated governance system. You can chart it out, but the subtleties in it are complicated. Dr. Barron didn't master it his first couple of years, but he certainly managed to master it towards the end. Dr. Wheatley, I'll say many of the same things about her. She hasn't had the experience of being a president. I think that's an experience that would be very beneficial before taking the reins of a university as broad and as big and as diverse as this university. I think she's had a great tenure, her first tenure as a provost. It's almost like she just a little bit more experience, and I would support, if the choice of Dr. Wheatley, I'd support it. And then she still has the handicap of learning the governance system. What I was impressed by all 3 of them when they talked about the future of FSU and how to move the future forward, they all had great ideas. They all had great concepts, but they all harkened back to resources. There wasn't a single idea that could be executed without the proper resources. And we're in a resource challenge environment, which brings us to our first candidate who met with us this morning, which was John Thrasher, Senator Thrasher. The strength that we see of Senator Thrasher is understanding our governance and funding system here in the state of Florida. He has spent time as a private fundraiser. He's raised money for his own campaigns. He's raised money for the party. He certainly understands the political funding aspects and the private funding aspects. One of the disappointing things when I read the campus feedback is that in the one area that he certainly should be ranked very high, he still is ranked very low. And if you're going to give one attribute to Senator Thrasher, it's got to be in the area of fundraising, both publicly and private fundraising. And it all starts with resources. And here's where I'm conflicted, and where I'm trying to find the right balance. And it's really Gary framed it. Is it someone who we think could lead, organize, get us all headed in the right direction, who can then help make sure and ensure that we have the resources to execute, and it can hire the staff around him to manage the university campus life? Or is it someone who can manage the university campus life and we have to figure out how to do the fundraising around? It's really a matter of 2 missions, 2 principles. And that's why Gary's viewpoint, I think, was so important there. We know we're in a funding challenged environment. We know that preeminence funding has been a big benefit for us, and we know that it's a result of great work by faculty, great work by students, and a lot of great work by our administration, our president, this Board of Trustees, and legislators who love our university and supported us in that process. It was a collaborative effort to get us there. And that helped us start to reconcile what are real salary issue problems that faculty have pointed out. And I don't know how, in the absence of solving that issue, how we can move this university forward. So my struggle really is trying to get, and that's, I'm laying my question out, and anyone can answer it or help me answer it. How can we get the funding to be the university that we need to be in the absence of someone like Senator Thrasher? Can we afford the time frame for the learning curve of another president coming in here and going through that learning curve, as we did with Dr. Barron for the first couple of years? And can we afford that? Either side, we have a learning curve here we're going to go through, and where are we best to make our bets in terms of the success of Florida State University? So,
Okay, that sort of sums up the four candidates. Any more comments? Stefano, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. And, I definitely agree with Mr. Burr. And, we have a lot of options. We have a lot of questions. I think we have four talented candidates who all have different strengths and all have different weaknesses. And I think as a board, we have to decide where we want to put the premium value on, and then where we need to expect more from our university or from external as to where we get to our goals. I think we have the right goals. I think we have a lot of people who care about FSU. And I just want to say this as well. I'm honored to be at this table with y'all. I'm a 22-year-old young man, and these are successful people who I've gotten to know, who are men and women of character. And it's an honor that I get to serve with you guys. And it's also an honor that you guys get to help out my university. So I guess I'm going to go through the four candidates and sort of highlight what I see, and then sort of the questions that we need to answer at the end, because I'm not 100% there yet either. And I think it's a very complex and delicate situation with where we're at. I think to start out with Dr. Marchese. There's no doubt I believe this man understands how research works in a university, and I think that's his greatest strength. And I also think that's something that we need to vastly improve upon as a university here. We need to get to that $400, $500 million research range. And it's definitely something that is going to take a lot of hard work, but it's also going to take a lot of strategic thinking in how we allocate our resources and how we organize our university and our factors in our university to get there. I also am concerned, though, and somewhat, I guess, is my role as a student representative, is I don't feel he has worked enough with students to understand our student concerns, because he's been so much in research. His path and his progression, has been in research and research administration. I don't know how well he understands a student body that we can see is extremely active, extremely focused, and also extremely talented. So I think moving on to the next candidate, and I'll just go in reverse order as well, Dr. Mike Martin. I think this guy is an extremely polished gentleman. He definitely knows the ins and outs of higher education. He would have, I believe, the smallest learning curve in understanding Florida, but I still think it would be a significant one. And that is because the Florida system as a whole has, as we've come out of the recession, higher education in this state has become transformed. As new money is getting added into the system, and I see this as the student member of the Board of Governors, it is really tied to performance funding. And it is also the only form and also the only metrics that can take away base money. And this is sort of what Dr. Tyson alluded to, the citizens of Florida's check through their constitutionally created system of higher ed governance. And I think that's something that we also have to be mindful of as we move forward and evaluate. I think Dr. Martin understands campuses. He definitely understands athletics as being a board of directors member of the Southeastern Conference. As much as I love the ACC, he does have that athletic experience. But I do think there is a significant gap for him translating his skills to Florida, because Florida, as we found out, is a very unique state, and it is not the easiest state to come into. Dr. Wheatley, I think, brings the most energy. I think Dr. Tyson hit it on the head. This could be a 20-year president. I think she is sort of the internal candidate, someone who engages the academy, excites the academy, and would be a force of energy on this campus. However, I think she has the largest way to go with understanding Florida, and we just have to evaluate whether or not we can take that risk. And for the final candidate, I am not 100% where it has to only be an academic to lead a university, because it is so complex in today's modern society. We have definitely moved away from the traditional academy, particularly in the public education system, where our taxpayers and our citizens demand so much accountability for where we put our state dollars towards. So I think Senator Thrasher provides an opportunity to excel in what is or is about to be the third most populous state, which is a huge state and which means that there's resources and people in the state who he can connect to and help make FSU succeed. I also think he understands the ins and outs of the Florida system, which is very complex and also does affect the resources and does affect how things happen here because of our nature of being Florida State University. And so that's sort of how I kind of see it. There's just decisions we have to make, whether or not we want to focus internally, whether or not we want to make sure that we're the strongest we can be in regards to the state. And I think that's what we have to get to as a board and move forward. Thank you, Chairman.
Absolutely. Trustee Hillis, you're recognized.
I'd like to address some of the concerns some of the speakers had earlier today regarding the motivations of our Board of Trustees. Like Andy, I started here 64 years ago. I mean 54 years ago. And I currently serve on 7 boards here at the university. I also serve on the foundation board for my national fraternity, raising monies for scholarships for students. You know, FSU means everything to me, and I want you to know that I've thoroughly vetted all the candidates. I've attended or observed every one of the search committee meetings, been there for the interviews, and I've made my mind up, and I know who I think should be our president, but it's not for any motivation other than for what I think is in the best interest of Florida State University.
Trustee Gruters, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. I know there's some members that are undecided. I have my made decision, and I think that the best candidate to move our university forward is John Thrasher. And I say that because, for one, I don't think you can question his passion, his loyalty. I think he bleeds garnet and gold. I think his long-term commitment to this institution and what he's done for us already is unquestioned. I think that if you look at his entire body of work, including all of his leadership positions that he's held throughout the many, many organizations, including this board as a board of trustees, we all know how hard our board chairman works and how involved you are with the president in the various decision-making. And a lot of people say we should choose an academic. That's a lot of the criticism we heard from John Thrasher. He's not an academic. He's not from the academy, but at the end of the day, he did graduate from Florida State with both an undergraduate degree and a terminal degree. And I think that that is worthwhile something. And I'm actually proud of the fact that he is one of our own. I'm glad we have a Seminole coming back. Eric Barron was a Seminole. I think it's a little special. And if times were perfect, maybe one of these other candidates that are from academia would work out better. But I think in the time we're in where we have a limited amount of resources and where there has been significant cuts, I think that bringing somebody in who knows the system probably better than anybody else in the state and who knows how to get things done. And what I think is going to happen is I think he'll be able to build the bridges back with some of the faculty members. I think he'll be able to build the bridges with the students. I think he'll be able to bring the funding we need to bring us into the top 25. And I think as a result of the funding he brings, I think the faculty salaries and everything will go up and everybody will be happy. I'm confident he'll do a great job, and I know he'll serve this institution with distinction if we give him the chance.
Any more discussion? Trustee Duda, you're recognized.
Well, as the oldest, I think about President Moore. I think about President Cindy Domberg, and I happen to have been on the first Board of Trustees that was appointed, and John Thrasher was our chairman. And I remember when Sandy wanted this medical school. And when we were discussing, I asked John and Sandy one day, well, what do you do? They haven't opened a medical school in 20 years. And, right? And they said, we want to be different. We want to go, was it in Minnesota, Sandy, or that y'all went to a hospital that would teach doctors to go to the rural communities or the urban areas? That's what you wanted to train doctors for. And when I hear this stuff that they don't, or he doesn't care, I remember his thing was, we've got to train these doctors to go out into where other schools aren't training these doctors. So that's just my thoughts on how this person has helped us. And Senator Jim King also helped us.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Ballard, you recognize.
Thank you. I would just a few notes I've jotted down to, so I don't forget anything. Florida State is on the rise. I just feel like, and I'm the newest board member, for everybody that doesn't know that on the outside, just being on this campus, I just feel like we are ready to explode with more greatness than ever. We are in a $1 billion campaign. It is critical that we secure funds to keep our mag lab. We are aspiring to reach the top 25, which I totally believe we can do sooner than later. We've got a very vibrant athletic department. Our research and academia are thriving. I do believe we need to increase salaries for professors. And Senator John Thrasher was the one candidate I felt like who really discussed that and wants that for our professors. I think timing is everything. I think he is an inspiring leader who can help us heal, which we need healing right now. And with that being said, I would like to make the motion to name John Thrasher our next president.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Let's discuss. Any more discussion? Anyone want to add on to what they've already said?
I'll say it. I'll say that looking very closely and being in this board for a while, that funding is critical. The funding we have gotten in the last 2 years for preeminence is helping us. With additional funding, public funding or private funding, we can get a very high quality academic administration team. We can make increase the salaries of the faculty and increase the stipends of the part-time graduate students that teach and the needs that they have as for healthcare. So I second the nomination of Senator Thrasher.
Okay. Any more discussion?
So we've discussed that every candidate is going to have to, or every future president is going to have some help. He's going to have a team. I think for the 3 academic candidates, that team that they rely on the most is actually in this room right now. It's the trustees who have that knowledge outside. For John Thrasher, it would be the leadership team. Now, he has the advantage that the current leadership team is excellent. I think in that sense, he's ahead of where TK was. But Alberto Pimentel, who did a wonderful job for us, is very likely to do a wonderful job for his future employers as well. And the way you do that is you go after the leadership team of other universities. So we're going to get poached. We're going to lose some of that leadership team, probably the ones we least want to lose. We're going to have to be smart at playing that game. If we're going to get in a game where we have a president who really needs the day-to-day support more so than Eric did, we're going to have to be on the top of our game to make sure that that leadership team is as good as possible, that we retain the ones that we absolutely can't lose, and that we replace the ones that we do lose with somebody who's just as good. That's a scary thing because the board is going to be here. And the leadership team flows, and he's got to rely on people that may or may not be around.
Good observation.
Chairman, can I?
Chairman Burr, you're recognized, or ex-Chairman Burr.
Gary, that's a great observation, and when you say we have to be on top of our game, and I think your point is that the leadership team is going to be vital to John Thrasher. It's a fluid leadership team. What does it take to be on top of our game? I mean, how do we assure that we either retain or hire similar quality or better quality?
Trustee Tyson, you're recognized.
Such an easy question. I think you have to be as inclusive as possible. We talked about the academy versus the administration, and this is a case where the academy will come with significant concerns. As you replace the leadership team, the person that has to work well with that person is John Thrasher, because he's the one ultimately that has to delegate and has to work with. But when he looks for people, and I hope he doesn't have to do it, but when he looks for people, he needs to be as inclusive as possible. So those searches are ones where everybody in this room says, absolutely, this is the right person.
May I say something? I think that the team that we have now is excellent. In the time I've been on this board, I think everybody except Vice President Colburn is new. From the provost to the administrator, to the CFO, to the legal counsel, to the communications, external affairs, everybody in research. I can't think except Mary Colburn, who was here from, 3 or 4 years ago when Eric, so I hope we retain the team that we have now, and if not, that we go out and get the very best. If you remember in the discussions that we had about the presidential search, that money came up, and I said, we went out and got the very best football coach that we could. We're paying for it, and the results have been excellent. We're making also strides in basketball. So we have done it in academics. I mean, in athletics, we have gone out there and got the very, very best that we can. And I think that with our help, with our direction, the new president can do that.
Any more discussion? Stefano, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. If this becomes, the will of the board and we go with Senator Thrasher, I think it does also come to the board as well for us to make sure that we recognize what Senator Thrasher does not have the breadth of experience in, and make sure that we continually keep this university focused on some of its primary missions and focused on making sure that our academic programs excel through when we approve a budget, when we evaluate our strategic plans that we send to the Board of Governors. And I think that's an important thing that we have to hold ourselves accountable. If we're going to make a decision where we're going to find someone who can bring in these resources that we've struggled with finding for so long, then we have to make sure that as a board, we keep focus on the parts that we need to also include in the overall equation of a university.
Okay. Any more discussion on the motion? Trustee Rolando, you recognize. I was waiting for you.
Well, I'm still not sure. It seems as if it's a foregone conclusion that Senator Thrasher is going to be our next president. I do have reservations, and I think we need to keep them in mind. First of all, Senator Thrasher, and I agree the guy is unbelievably committed. I thought he did a magnificent job today. He is going to be sidelined for 2 years while he's for conflict of interest issues, number one. Number two, I don't think in this state there's a huge appetite, notwithstanding a lot of lip service, for expanding the resources available for education. And there's there's a bunch of universities and colleges all grubbing for the same pot. And in a lot of ways, I think Senator Thrasher is much more effective and has much more leverage inside the confines of the legislature than outside. There's more to wheel and deal, there's more to give, there's more to get. And I think that I don't see this state all of a sudden getting religion and increasing dramatically the pool of money going to higher education. So I'm very concerned about raising our expectations that there's going to be a giant pool of money when it's not going to happen. And you're setting that's your expectation, you're setting him up to fail. A bigger concern of mine is we are all unbelievably committed to the top 25, to moving FSU into the top 25. Well, we all have found out today, if we didn't already know it, that over 20% of that number is based on reputation. They're not asking members of the Florida legislature about our ranking. They're asking university members across the nation what they think of us and how we rank. So we're not going to be picking up points in over 20% of the ranking by electing a non-academic as our president. And I'm very much on the academic side. When I was first elected by the Board of Governors, it was for my commitment to academics. And I know and love academics, but I will tell you, they're snobs. And I get it. And I'm kind of sympathetic with this. We are not going to be exalted by academics for appointing a non-academic president. So I think we've got to recognize that the choice that's apparently being made could come back and bite us and may be very self-defeating. And I don't think you can make the decision cavalierly without recognizing the downside. In terms of the candidates, the academic candidates, I think Dr. Martin is the most complete package, will have the least amount of time adjusting. Is he going to have to learn Florida's Byzantine funding system? Yes, but he's been at University of Florida and where it's in a separate line, and he's figured it out. And so I think the committee has done a great job bringing us a lot of choices. I think Dr. Martin I was concerned about fundraising expertise. I was concerned about familiarity with the Florida legislature. I was concerned about the ability to deal with the situation with athletics and balancing the academics and the athletics, I think he's had very good experience at both of them. And I think he understands the political funding situation.
Okay. Any more comments?
Just
Trustee
real quick.
Gruters.
And Trustee Rolando, I'd like to address two of those issues real quick. First off, in terms of the academic standing and the reputation, I think that Senator Thrasher, when I look at all the leadership positions that he had and the success that he had with them, to me that tells me he's a great team builder, and I'm confident that he's going to be able to put the team together that hopefully will extend past our boundaries and will be recognized as a top team. And number two, if we do move forward with Senator Thrasher, I hope that in the contract we could model it after what we had for President Barron, with incentives based off of fundraising and success with bringing in the money. So,
any more comments? Okay, seeing none, I think we'll do this by a roll call vote. I think the world wants to know where we are on this issue. So we'll go ahead and call the motion. And Liz or Lena, who's going to call the roll? Again, this is a motion to appoint John Thrasher as president of the university. If you favor the motion, say aye. If you oppose it, say no.
Trustee Ballard.
Aye.
Trustee Benz.
Yes.
Trustee Burr.
Yes.
Trustee Camps.
Yes.
Trustee Cavallaro.
yes.
Trustee Duda. Trustee Gruters.
Yes.
Trustee Haggard.
Yes.
Trustee Hillis.
Yes.
Trustee Pantene.
Yes.
Trustee Rolando.
Pass me by for a minute.
Trustee Sembler.
Yes.
Trustee Tyson.
No. However, I hope to be telling John Thrasher what I just heard my colleague telling Sandy, that I'm wrong. And I'll do everything I can to make sure that's true. But right now, it's too scary. This is the scary choice, not the safe choice. So it's no.
No.
Your motion passes. 10-2.
Okay.